Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, in this video we're going to cover on how to check your gears on your helicopter if you're having a problem and it won't lift up. So to determine if it's an engine or not, this is how you would check your gears to see if your gears are alright. Now your top rotor blade, the bottom gear down below here, controls it. And so you can just move with your finger. Now your top gear controls your bottom rotor blade. And this is the most common gear that will actually get snapped before a bottom gear will snap away. But it can happen, you know, where your bottom gear does let go. So what you want to do is you want to put your finger on the bottom gear first, and then you want to move back and forth, just twisting back and forth gently to see what kind of movement you have. Now if it's pretty stiff, then you're okay. If you got any kind of play at all, there is a screw down below that you can tighten up with a screwdriver. Now for your top gear, this controls your bottom blade here. So you're going to want to hold it in place and you want to give it a wiggle back and forth. Now there should be a little bit of give, not a whole lot, but it should be a little bit. You know, so I'm moving this, I don't know, maybe about a 1/16 of an inch. It's not very much play, because on this particular helicopter, which is your Estes WE2012, SO31, SO31G, and many others that have the same outboard gear design like this, this is how you would check them, and that includes the SO33 as well. Now these could also be Cobra SO31s or SO31Gs, etc., because Cobra and Estes and SEMA all make the same helicopters. They just have their different names on them. Yeah, but they're identical to each other. They're the same. So this would be the same as the SO31 and 31G, with the exceptional difference between the 31 and the 31G is one runs on a 7.4 volt battery, the other one runs on a 9 volt battery. So there's a little bit of a difference there. So when you're ordering replacement parts, you have to make sure that you have the 7.4 volt system or the 9 volt system, because of the motors. The motors are going to be different. If you jam a 9 volt battery into this system, you can blow your PCB board, but you can also overdrive your engines. Now I've done this experiment, and there's a video I have up there on this, where I move a 9.6 volt battery and PCB into a helicopter that actually in the end ended up, it was the engines that were running on a lower voltage, so they ran faster with the different PCB board and battery. So it delivered a lot more power, but actually a little bit too much, and it caused the engines to overheat a lot. Your battery overheats, you don't get as much flight time, etc. So it's a real stupid mod overall. But anyways, so once again, to check them, hold your bottom gear in place with your finger, check the slack on the top. If there is any, tighten down that screw. There should be just a hairball, but not much. And then hold your finger on your top gear for your bottom blade, and then wiggle it back and forth and see what kind of play you have. Most commonly, it is the top gear on pretty much every single heli that gets nailed first, because the main shaft, which is this outer shaft, is actually just pressed into that gear. It's not usually held in with a screw. It's not that often you see them held in with a screw. It can happen. And usually if they're held in with a screw, there's a pretty slim chance that you'll ever damage the top gear. But if it's not held in with a screw on the top gear, then there's a good chance you fractured away the inside holder for the shaft cutout, and you've damaged your top gear. Now, you usually can't order just the one gear. You order a kit, or you order a pair of gears, which is fine, no big deal. You know, and Cobra has tons of parts, so does SEMA and the others, and I believe Estes has a good parts kit for this helicopter as well. But that's how you check your gears to find out. Now, if you have very little to, you know, very little play in your top gear, and your bottom gear checks out good too, then the likelihood of the problem, you want to check your gear teeth out next to see if there's any of them that are broken, because this can cause the blades to run at a slower rate too. So if you didn't damage the gear on the shaftings where they insert, then it is a good chance you may have chewed away at the gear, and it's really easy to inspect that just by rotating the gear and looking at the teeth for broken or missing teeth. If that's the case, then again, you've got a damaged gear. But if all that checks out and everything runs smooth, now you'll notice another thing is you've got a set of secondary gears off the side here. They're actually driven by the brass pinions on the motors. So these are the gears that are actually going to take the most wear and tear because they're plastic, and plastic to metal usually wears out quicker, but plastic to plastic, you shouldn't be damaging your main gears too easily, okay? So if all that all checks out all fine, all your gears are all fine, all that's all good to go, and your brass pinions are still there's no slippage on them at all, you know, they're still on there and they should be, then you start looking at you've got a possible motor issue. Okay, and again, like I said, when you're ordering parts, you have to make sure when you order them, you specify you have a 7.4 volt version, so you need the motor for that. Okay, because if you put in a 9 volt motor, you should be okay driving with 7.4 volts because you're only giving it what the other one gets anyways. But if you have a 9 volt system, we'll say in your helicopter, and they send you a 7.4 volt motor, this motor is going to run extremely fast, so then you're going to have nothing but a spin issue going on, or you could have other things that go on because now you're driving too much juice into that one motor. That's why it's always important to order the right voltage motor for your helicopter. So when it's a SO31 or an SO31G, that's the big difference between those two, is going to be the motors and the power sources, and your PCBs of course are going to be running on different voltages. So make sure you order the right parts. But that, in a nutshell, that's how you check your gears out. And you can check this same thing on pretty much any heli. Just to give you an example, I'll show you another helicopter real quick here. Now this next one here, this is called a Skyline U6. A lot of people know these as the Red 5 U6. And Banana Hobby also carries this helicopter as well. And it's the same sort of thing. Put your finger on the top gear and then check for the play. Bottom gear, check for the play. Now on this particular heli, there should be absolutely no play on the top, like nothing that's even noticeable. On the top gear, you'll have a little bit of play in there, and that is completely normal, okay? So that's just another example of another one that has outside gears like this that you can get at easy to check them out. Now when you come across a helicopter, for instance like this oddly 4.5 channel helicopter, you don't have access to the gears. So you're going to have to take the cover off and one of the side plates to check the gears out on it. Okay, that's on this one here, and any others that have this cage where the gears are protected and hidden away there. So that's your basics on how to check your gears and your motor out. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and feel free to leave any comments, and we'll definitely see you on the next one.